So we continue this Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we start new siman today. It's number 57, and the topic is the loss of the one who recited the blessing on food and drink, and was subsequently brought more. Okay, that's a famous question, right? And so he started eating, and then they brought more. Okay, so let's see. Introduction. As we have seen, so it's a Simon 57. Okay, as we have seen above 5011, so like some time ago, the effectiveness of the blessing is not limited to the specific item upon which the blessing was recited. So as we said, it would include all of the items like in front of you, whatever you planning to eat, in the same blessing category. Right, so if you made a blessing on piece of cheese, so it covers all of the shechako, whatever your coffee and other things, omelet, whatever is it, right? Single blessing is effective for additional food of the same type, and even if the other foods that are subject to the same blessing. Right, so same type, of course, but also the same blessing, provided they were included in original intent, one who was reciting the blessing. Okay, so whatever we said, whatever we intended to eat, even though it's in the refrigerator, it's still cooking, it's still warming. Let's say you need some time to warm, something you put it on your stove and you start eating this, whatever you eat. So of course that food is also included. So why? Because you had intention. But now we're going to see what if you did not have intention. Okay. So number one, if one said the blessing on bread and did not intend to eat more than what he prepared for himself, for example, he purchased the bread or roll for himself, thinking that it would suffice for his needs, and afterwards he desired to eat more, and sent someone to purchase more bread for him. In such a case, even if there is more of what he originally prepared for himself still left in front of him, nevertheless he must recite Hamotzi again, what they brought for him. For it is deemed a change of mind, and a new bread is not included in original blessing. Okay. So let's do it again, and we're going to explain. So it's a little different from what we said before, and I'm going to explain. I think he's going to bring us the different case. So on all of the cases that we discussed before, it's when a person has things in his house, in his refrigerator, his pantry closet, and somewhere, right? He has, right? That's one thing. But here in this scenario, he actually sent somebody. He did not have this in his house. He did not intend to eat more, and now he's changed his mind and sent somebody to buy more. That's a difference. We never discussed this case, so it's very interesting. So let's do it again, and we're going to explain. If one recited the blessing on bread and did not intend to eat more than what he prepared for himself, for example, so he had only, I don't know, like 3 slices of bread, right? And he said, okay, that's more than enough for me. For example, he purchased bread or roll for himself, thinking that it would suffice for his needs. So that's initial plan was, I'm going to eat these 3 slices and should be enough. And afterwards, he desired to eat more. Okay, so okay. And sent someone to purchase more bread for him. Okay, again, he did not have bread, he sent to purchase. So, of course, it's change of mind. In such a case, even if there is more of what he's originally prepared for himself still left in front of him, right? Very interesting. This is in contrast to halacha below, CF number 3, in which having more of the original food left is of criterion. Okay, so here we say it does not make any difference right? Even though he has, let's say, half a slice left of the bread, right? Nevertheless, he must recite Hamotzi again on what they brought to him. So very interesting. On new bread, new loaf, he would need to say a separate blessing. For a dim change of mind, and the new bread is not included in the original blessing. So new change of mind, and this new bread is not included. So let's see commentary, and we're going to explain. In this case, his action attests to the fact that he originally planned to eat only one roll. Otherwise, he would have purchased more in the first place. Mishnah Brura. Okay, so maybe this example, this addition Mishnah Brura, it's a better explanation, right? So he said that he went to the store and brought bread, let's say this roll or like small loaf, right? And he finished everything. So that was his intention. So it's not like he did not have money. Let's say, like, simplify the case, he had enough money to buy two loaves, right? But he did not. For whatever reason, he did not. Because why? He decided that I need only one. Okay, and he changed it, and then he changed his mind. Okay, so even though there is still a few slices from the first loaf, so he went to buy the second one or send somebody. However, if one had bread in his house, here we go, and in preparation of the meal, he cut piece for himself because he thought that it would suffice for his meal, and afterwards desire more and cut more bread for himself, even though he has no more of the original bread left, he need not recite another blessing, for it is not considered change of mind, since there is no manner to do this. And this is actually what we discussed when somebody asked us a question. So when you in the middle of the meal, you decided to eat more. Well, let's say bread meal. So it's all covered because people usually they become hungry when they eat, right? Or they want something sweet, something salty, something spicy, this and that. So it's not uncommon, but let's put it this way, to eat additional foods whatever a person did not plan initially. So same with this bread. So he had bread, he cut few slices. He said in his mind, that's all I'm going to eat, and then he decided to eat more. And he had this bread. So since it's normal behavior, it's like it has like his intention. That's I think it's a good formula to remember. If it's his regular behavior, it's like his intention. So for example, if a person, like another example, that a person always drinks tea, for example, with his breakfast, right? And he did not make it tea. He forgot completely, right? He started eating other foods, and he said shechakol and something else. So after that, he would make tea like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. So this tea is covered 100%. Why? Because he intended to make, because of his habits, but he did not do it this time. Does not make any difference. Commentary. Since it is normal for a person who thought that one's piece would suffice and later decided to take additional piece, and he did not clearly indicate that this was not his intent, all that he subsequently eats, also included in original blessing. See Mishnah Brura. Okay, so as we explained, but in different wording. I would say the exception would be, for example, somebody is on a diet, right? And he said, okay, according to my fancy schmancy diet, I'm going to eat only 2 slices of bread. That's it. I'm not going to eat a crumb more than these 2 slices. Let's say, right? This diet, and then he changes his mind. In this case, yeah, he must say a different blessing because it was clear his intention to eat only these 2 slices. Even the bread was in front of him, but it's like exception. Continue. CF number 2. If one recited a blessing on the fruit that he is eating, and then they brought more fruit to him afterwards, the halacha is follows. Okay. if at the time of the blessing he had in mind that the blessing should apply to all that they will bring him, then even if he has no more of the first fruit left, and even if the fruits that he was later brought were not of the same type as the first one, as long as their blessing is the same, he need not to recite second blessing for those that brought him. If, on another hand, he had defined change, the definite change of mind, there is, he originally only intended to eat those items that were brought to him, and afterward he changed his mind and decided to eat more. Then, even if the fruits were brought of the same type as the first, and he also still has before him more of the first fruit, he must nevertheless recite the second blessing on those that are brought to him now. Okay, so I mean, it sounds a little complicated, but we'll try to explain it very, very simple. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the case of the fruit. Okay, so from the beginning, and we're going to explain. If one recite the blessing on the fruit that he's eating, so he has one apple, so it's not like he has anything in front of him. It's too easy. We discussed it before. So only one apple, right? And they then brought more fruits to him. Afterwards, halacha is follows, and then people brought more fruits from outside, let's say, or from refrigerator. He's let's say he's in one room, and somebody brought to him in the room where he is. Okay, if at the time of the blessing he had in mind that the blessing should apply to all that they will bring him. So here's a very interesting thing, and that's a good idea to have this practice, right? What is the practice? Never to limit your blessing to anything. So I'm going to eat apple and in general. So, but don't limit yourself. I'm only going to eat this apple. So if somebody is on diet or something like or this whatever this food is not healthy, let's say. So and person knows like one piece is good, but 2 pieces is going to kill me. Let's say for whatever this I don't know, this pastries or something, right? So one is good, but I can afford, but 2 is too much. It's like bad for my sugar, let's say, right? So that's a different case. But in case it's not like some bad food, so never limit yourself. Never say I'm going to eat only this. So okay, I'm going to eat this and maybe something else, right? So and actually I would say just say if you don't have specific intention not to eat on stop eating, so you can actually rely on this opinion also, and don't need to say extra blessing, but proper like to have intention that I'm going to eat whatever I'm going to eat. Okay, so then if he has no more of the fruit left, even if he has no fruit left, so they brought him second apple, right? And even the first fruit has later brought were not of the same type of the first one. And even though it was not the apple at all, it was orange, right? But same blessing. As long as the blessing is the same, so he ate apple. And as we said, it's proper to have a kavanah to eat more. Right? Even though if you're not going to eat more, it does not make any difference, or at least not to have intention to stop, to limit yourself only with this apple. That's it. So for example, say okay, a person look at the watch and said, okay, I'm going to eat this apple, and next snack I'm going to have in 2 hours. So that's the problem. That's intention. That's he's going to limit himself. So that would be, I think, good example. But if he did not have this intention, he ate apple, they brought him orange, no problem, so orange is covered. So he need not recite the second blessing on those that brought to him. Commentary. According to the opinion cited Mishnah Brura 206:22, one who has sat down for a fixed session of eating fruit need not recite another blessing on fruit that are brought in afterwards, even if it has no specific intent. For the additional fruit, I included in the original intention. So whatever we said, Mishnah Berurah has a better, I think, description. So he called it eating session, fruit eating session. So okay, that's I'm going to start with apple. It's my fruit eating session, whatever it means, right? So I mean, it means that I'm going to eat as many fruit as I want. Okay, that's the thing. So according to Mishnah Berurah, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, so they all covered, even if different types, but the same blessing. If on the other hand has a definite change of mind, there is he originally only intended to eat those items that are in front of him. As I said in my example, he looked at the clock and said, no, okay, the next I'm going to eat this apple, next snack in 2 hours. Okay, so that's it, right? And afterwards he changed his mind and decided to eat more. Then, if the fruits were brought of the same type as first, he also still has before him more of the first ones. He must nevertheless recite second blessing on those that are brought to him now. So okay, since in his mind he limited himself only to one apple, and now he changed his mind. He said, I think maybe I'm going to have another apple. So orange it's too simple, right? Even another apple. So this another apple is not covered. So and the author said 4 times. By now, even if he has or did not have original fruit, and of course he did not say it for nothing. He's going to play a big role in the next seer. Number 3. But if when he originally recited the blessing on a fruit that he was eating and did not have specific intent one way or another, and he was brought more fruits afterwards, that's the case we discussed, then depends upon the following. If at the time when they brought to him a second batch of fruit, he no longer has any of the first fruit left, he must recite the second blessing. But if he had some of the first fruit left, there is halachic doubt whether or not he needs to recite second blessing on the second batch of fruits. We're going to see the commentaries as well. Therefore, it is advisable to be careful when one recites the blessing to have in mind that his blessing should encompass whatever they might bring him. And if he did not have this in mind, but rather he had no specific intent, since there is a doubt in regard to this blessing, he should refrain from eating the fruit that are subsequently brought to him. Okay, so that's a different scenario. So let's try to do it from the beginning and understand this commentary and understand. Okay, so number 3 from the beginning. But if when he originally recited the blessing on the fruit that he was eating, so he did say the blessing of on the apple, right? He did not have specific intent, one way or another. So he did not have a specific intent whether he's going to have a second apple or orange or anything. Blank, right? So he did not have intention that he's not going to eat more, and he did not have intention that not going to have intention that eat more, or that he's going to stop. Okay. But he was brought more fruits afterwards. So no intention and brought fruits afterwards. Then it depends on the following. So as we said before we continue, it's proper to have in mind. I'm going to eat whatever I'm going to eat. Whatever these fruits, it's my eating session. Fruits eating session. So everything is included. Okay. But if he did not have intention, so now it depends. If at the time when they brought him the second batch of fruit, he no longer have any fruits left, he must recite the second blessing. So if there is no fruit left, so he must recite the second blessing. So let's see the Mishnah Brura, and we're going to explain. So meaning he did not have intention, and he finished the fruit. So it's not so simple. With the orange, it's very simple. So because there is no edible part left, but if it's apple, it's not so simple. So you have this core of the apples, and some people leave a lot. There is still apple, let's say, left that edible, right, on this apple core. Commentary. According to Mishnah Brura 206:22, this applies only if it was not exact the same food. For example, if he was eating apples and he was brought oranges. However, if he was eating apples, exactly as you said, and was brought more apples, he need not recite the blessing, even if more of the original apples, if none of the original apples were left when you once were brought. So, and that's exactly what we said before when we discussed the previous page. My example. So, meaning that if he did not have anything in mind, I'm going to eat, not going to eat, and they brought and he was eating apples, and they brought him apples, and again he did not have in mind to eat or not to eat. So after the fact, Mishnah Brura says apples are covered. Oranges not so much, but apples are covered. Okay. So because that's what he was eating before. Continue. But if he had some, again, he did not have anything left, no apples left. Okay. But if he had some of the first fruit left, okay, then there is halachic doubt. So I would say this apple, and he did not finish completely, right? For whatever reason. Maybe it was not so good. Like I don't know, tasting like a cardboard. I don't know, like something, right? There is a halachic doubt. So, but if nothing is left, halachic doubt, what is it? Whether or not he needs to recite second blessing on the second batch of fruits. Okay, so commentary. Mishnah Brura 6:22 rules that in this case one need not recite the blessing unless it was entirely different species. So Mishnah Brura says, but if just one second, but let me read one more time. So I want to make sure that we cover everything. One more time. If at the time they brought him a second batch of fruit, he no longer had any of the first fruit left. Okay, that's the first case. He must recite the second blessing. Okay, Mishnah Brura says, but if it's exactly the same apples, don't say any blessing. Okay, so next scenario. But if he had some of the fruit left, there is halachic doubt. So Mishnah Brura says that what? So if it's not entirely different species, so no blessing is needed. It's left or did not. There is still a remain or no remain, according to Mishnah Brura, and that's what we actually follow. We don't say blessing unless it's totally different. They brought him oranges. Therefore, it is advisable to be careful when one recites the blessing, to have in mind that this blessing should encompass whatever they may bring him. As we said before, it's a proper thing to do always to have in mind that I'm going to eat whatever in this blessing category. Period. That's it, right? So, for example, when one drinks, his example, when one drinks coffee, right, and then he wants to drink some juice, right? Right. So when you start drinking coffee or whatever you start drinking, so keep in mind that it should cover all of the other beverages, let's say, all of the other things in this blessing category. So that's a proper attitude. And if he did not have this in mind, right, whatever would be covered, but rather he had no specific intent. Since there is a doubt regarding the blessing, he should refrain from eating fruit that are subsequently brought. So, meaning we're talking about these oranges. Well, let's say I'm combining this Mishnah Brura and Kitzur. So, if he had no specific intention to eat more, and they brought him oranges, So these oranges are not covered because the original blessing was for apples. Okay, so please let me know if it's clear, if any questions, please, on what we said. Anyone? Okay, so continue. So, but it's finished. So Kitzur, Kitzur is a short version. In a few like lines, I don't know, 10 lines, 12 lines, he covered like 4 different scenarios. Very interesting. So very concise. So number 4, if they brought to one who previously recited the blessing, the fruit, and he had no specific intent to recite the blessing, the fruit that is more significant and desirable to him than the first ones, or the one of the 7 species, which Eretz Israel is praised, okay, and the first food was not of the 7 species, the halacha is that even if he still has some of the first fruit upon which he recited the blessing left before him, he must recite a new blessing on this fruit that they brought him. For the blessing on the one that is not on that one is not as significant, cannot exempt the significant one incidentally. We're going to explain. It's very interesting. Unless he has specific intent to exempt it. So just to remind us that that's my example that I gave you some time ago. So you have a bowl of fruits, and you have grapes, and you have apples and pears and other things, right? So we said it's okay. It's proper to say the blessing on the grapes because it's one of the 7 species. It's one piece and continue with apples, with pears, or whatever you want, right? But if you want to start with apples, that's no problem because you like the apples more. But you have to have a specific intention that you're going to eat grapes as well. Otherwise, if you did not have specific intention, even if it's before in front of you, it's not covered. So, and it's proper, as we said when we were discussing the priority of blessing. Start with the grapes if you of course if you intend to eat them. If you don't have to force yourself. But if you have intent to eat the grapes, you have to say blessing on them first, even though you don't like them so much. But anyway, that would be proper according to all of the opinions. Okay. So let's see. So from the beginning, number 4, and we're going to explain. So if somebody following, it's page 259. Continue. If they brought to one who previously recited the blessing a fruit, and had no specific intent when they recited the blessing, a brother went to recite the blessing on a fruit, had no specific intent when he recited the blessing. Okay. A fruit that is more significant and desirable to him than the first one. So, as we learned before, Kitzur stresses a lot something like in hierarchy of the presidents, something like he likes more. So he said, even though that's not how we paskin, but he said that something that he likes more, it takes precedence even above the these fruits of the 7 species. So basically, again, so he started eating apples, but they brought him oranges, and he likes oranges much more. And that's his favorite fruit. Or they brought him grapes, right? Or the ones of the 7 species with which the Eretz Israel is praised. So the commentary, the 7 species with which Eretz Israel is praised, enumerated in Torah, Dvarim 8:8, when it says the land of wheat, barley, grape, fig, and pomegranate, land of olive oil and date honey. So if we're talking about fruits, it's not 7, it's 5, right? Only 5 fruits. Okay, but anyway, so one more time, it's grape, fig, pomegranate, olive oil, and date honey, dates. Okay, so again, he said the blessing on apple. Did not have any specific intention to eat anything else, right? Or that this blessing is going to cover. And they brought him orange, that his favorite fruit, or they brought him grapes. Okay. 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 The halacha is that even if he still have some of the first fruit, meaning this still have some apple, upon which he recited the blessing before left before him, right? I mean, he has still have half of the apple. He must recite a new blessing on this fruit that they brought to him. So let's see the commentary. According to Mishnah Brura 2:11. 32. Even if the more important one was in front of him, when he recited the blessing, he must have specifically in mind in order to exempt it. Otherwise, he must recite a new blessing. Exactly as we said. So this it's exactly my example, right? When he had this grapes and apples and pears in the same fruit bowl. So unless he had specific intention when he was making the blessing on the apple to include the grapes, they're not included. Even it's a very good example, even if it's in front of him. Okay, so okay, and plus as Kitzur says, even that something that he likes more, like these oranges. So he must make a new blessing. For the blessing on the one that is not significant, cannot exempt significant by incidentally. So you can. So what is not significant? Not significant in this case is apple. So the blessing on the apple, which is insignificant compared to the grapes or oranges that he likes more. So he cannot exempt the more significant one, right? So, but opposite is true. If you say the blessing on grapes and you did not have any specific intention to eat these apples or pears in your fruit bowl, they for sure they covered. Or if you said on oranges, right? For sure apples are covered because you like oranges more. Okay, so but if again a reminder, if he had any specific intention, I want to start with apples, but then I'm going to my favorite oranges. There is no problem. So oranges are covered. But proper, as we said, not to put yourself in this situation. Just keep start with oranges or start with grapes, and you cover it according to all opinions. Unless you want to keep in mind that I should eat all of these fruits. Okay. Any questions on what we said? Okay, so let's do one more. And it's number 5. And it says, if one recites Shechakol blessing on beer, and he had in mind to exempt with the blessing whatever the food item they will bring him, whose blessing is Shechakol, and they brought him fish, he need not to recite additional blessing on the fish. However, if he had no specific intention, even if at the time when brought him the fish, some beer was still in front of him, he must nevertheless recite the blessing on the fish. So I mean, let's split in two this halacha. So here is again very clear halacha. So one more time, if one recited shechakol blessing on a beer or on coffee, whatever he was drinking, and he had in mind to exempt with the blessing whatever food they will bring him. So again, the food is not in front of him. If food is in front of him or her, that's a simple case, it's covered, right? So food was not there, but he had intention that I'm going to eat or drink whatever is in this shechakol category. So it could be beer, it could be tea or juice or fish or cheese or whatever is it, right? Everything is covered. However, he had, if he had no specific intention to eat different foods or drink different beverages, even if at the time when they brought him fish, some of the beer was still in front of him. So, I mean, of course, as we saw from previous halachas, in this case, it does not help. He must nevertheless recite the blessing on the fish. So it might help if he has a coffee and they brought him different coffee, like new cup of coffee. That's a different case. But otherwise, with like a totally different species, it's not going to work. Continue. So it's second part of this halacha number 5. Kitzur contrasts with the previous ruling. It is not similar to fruits. Okay. For with regard to the fruits, even these first ones are apples, and the second ones are nuts. They're nevertheless all type of the solid foods. Okay. Beer and fish, however, are two totally distinct types. One is solid food, and the other is beverage. Therefore, they do not exempt each other, unless they were in front of him, in front of the person, at the time he recited the blessing, or he had intention to eat them. Of course, it's not that simple. We're going to see the commentary and explain, but let's start this. There are a few cases here, 3 cases, and sub cases. Very interesting. We're going to explain. From the beginning, Kitzur contrasts this with the previous ruling, meaning with nuts. It is not similar to nuts. Commentary. Kitzur ruled that if one recite the blessing on a fruit without specific intention to eat more fruits, and was brought more fruit, while he had some of the first fruit left, there is a doubt whether he must recite the blessing on a second fruit. So that's what we said. So Mishnah Berurah said, don't do it. So try to not to eat and stuff like that. Okay. So let's see. So it's not similar to the previous case. For in regard to the fruits, even if the first ones are apples and second are nuts, right? They are nevertheless all types of solid foods. So salads goes with salads, unless you say you have specific intention. So, and just to remind us, we said in the class when we were learning the after blessing. So minimum amount of solids calculated separately, and liquids calculated separately. So we cannot combine the amount like liquids with the solids. Okay. Even though there is such one opinion that we can, but we don't go by that opinion. So a person must eat enough like solids in order to say the after blessing, or drink enough of liquids, and you can say blessing on the liquids and go into cover solids. One or another, but no combination. Okay. But if he would have a specific intention to exempt, right, say the blessing as he said on the beer, and his intention cover fish, there is no problem whatsoever. So continue. Beer and fish, however, are two totally different types. One is a solid food and the other is beverage. Okay, we know that, so we just explained why they're not cannot be combined just by default. Therefore, they do not exempt each other unless they were in front of the person at the time he recited the blessing. So that's the easy case, but just to remind us again, so if a person said the blessing on the coffee and he had omelet in front of him, of course this omelet is covered, of course the fish is covered and the cheese is covered, like everything is covered, even though he did not have intention, but foods in front of a person, it's like his intention. One more time, unless they were in front of him, right? So when he recited the blessing, or he had intention to eat them. So that's how we started. So if he had intention when he started drinking beer to have fish, yeah, it's covered. But if not, not. Commentary in summary. So I love this Kitzur. It's not Kitzur, art scroll. In summary, if one recites the blessing upon one food, and more food is subsequently brought to him, the halacha is as follows. So again, this food was not in front of him. He started eating the food, and more food was subsequently brought to him. So scenario number one: the food, if the food was bread, A. So it's like sub category. If it is evident from his action that he did not intend to eat more, he must recite new blessing. Okay, so if he, as we said, he said that's it, I'm not going to eat, that's it, we stop here, and then they brought cake, or cake, I apologize, cake, it's not a good example, they brought some other meat, and he said, no, let me try a piece, so of course that piece is not covered. So B, his intention was not clear, but he simply did not plan originally to eat more. He did not recite the new blessing. So that's again, that's what we said, even though Kitzur breaks in two different cases, but we go by this opinion. So one more time, if his intention is not clear, meaning he had no specific intention, but he simply did not plan originally to eat more, okay, he did not recite the new blessing. Okay, that's clear. Of course, again, we said proper to have intention to eat everything. Well, whatever they're going to bring me or whatever I want to eat, it should be included in my blessing. So scenario number two, upon other foods. So now we spoke about bread, so now other foods. So three different scenarios. So it says A, if he had specific intent for all foods subject to the blessing, no further blessing is necessary. So that's, as we said, it should be our intention to eat, for a blessing on whatever food I made should cover all of the foods in this blessing category. Okay. Continue. B, if he had intent only for the food that was before him, a new blessing is necessary in all cases. That's also like, as we said, I'm on the diet, next snack I'm going to eat in 2 hours. So of course, wherever he changes his mind, he must say new blessing. C, meaning the third scenario. If he had no specific intent then. Okay, that's very interesting. Number one, if the second food is more significant and desirable, or one of the 7 species, so meaning he made, again, our example, the blessing on the apples, but his favorite food is oranges, right? Or oranges. So he started with apple, and now they brought him oranges or grapes, right? Or if he first recited the blessing upon beverage, and then he was brought a solid food, okay, that's okay. Or if none of the original food was left before him, a blessing is required. According to Mishnah Brura, his last condition considered only if he is brought different type of food. Okay, so in all of these cases, he would need to say another blessing. So let me quickly read this case before we continue one more time. So it says, if he had no specific intent. So number one, if the second food is more significant, so okay, more significant and desirable, so more significant and desirable, or one of the 7 species, so meaning this first food was inferior, or he first recited the blessing upon the beverage, and then they brought him salad. So three scenarios. Number 4, or if none of the original food was left before him, a blessing is required. So right, so if he said the blessing on the apples, right, and they brought him oranges that he loves more, or brought him grapes, so he must say different blessing. Okay, so let's see. And scenario number 2, if some of the original food was left, so in this case no food is left, the ruling in this case is a subject to halachic doubt, and one should refrain from eating further. According to Mishnah Brura, one may eat further without reciting another blessing. Okay, that's what we actually pass it by. So he has a leftover food, or do not. So according to Mishnah Brura, he can continue. So one more time, just to understand, just to make sure that we understand. If some of the original food was left, the ruling is that the case is a subject to halachic doubt. So Kitzur said, don't do it, and one should refrain from eating further. So of course, if it's possible for you to follow the stricter rule, I would say do it. According to the Mishnah Brura, one may eat further without another blessing. Okay, so let's see, what time is it?